Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be reviewing Introduction to Intelligence with Dr. John Vervaeke on the Peterson Academy. So this is now the third course that I've taken with John Vervaeke. As soon as this course came out and it was titled Intelligence, which is something that I think about a lot, I knew that I had to take it instantly. And I had a lot of fun with this course. I learned so much. I can't wait to break it all down with you guys today. As always, I'll go through the synopsis on the Peterson Academy website first. Then we'll take a look at each of the lectures, kind of what they went over, and we'll take a look at the recommended books, and I'll give you guys my concluding thoughts. So, the synopsis on the Peterson Academy website. In Introduction to Intelligence, a 9-hour course, Dr. John Vervaeke explores the nature of intelligence through comprehensive cognitive science lenses, examining theories from traditional computational models to modern neuroscientific frameworks. The course integrates multiple perspectives, including cognitive science, neuroscience, and artificial intelligence, with a focus on relevance realization and predictive processing as key mechanisms underlying general intelligence. We investigate how intelligence emerges from the dynamic interaction between brain architecture, cognitive processes, and environmental coupling, addressing challenges in the natural world and artificial intelligence. The course concludes by exploring the implications of these theories from understanding consciousness, collective intelligence, and the future of artificial intelligence. So yeah, needless to say, a very, very interesting course. One of the most interesting courses I've taken on the Peterson Academy because it's very specific to what I'm actually trying to learn and trying to do here on this channel. You guys may know that I have a What is AI series. I have part 2 coming out soon, so don't worry, I'm still continuing that series. But I want to answer this question of what is artificial intelligence and what's the difference between artificial intelligence and artificial consciousness. Now, when I was in high school, I loved reading physics, and I came across a physics book that was very challenging to me. In fact, most of it I had to skip over because I didn't know how to read it. However, this book changed my life, and it's a big reason why physics plays such a big role in my thinking. And the book is called The Emperor's New Mind by Roger Penrose. And in that book, I learned a lot more of the differences between computation and intelligence. Now, in my artificial intelligence series, I want to start playing with that question a little bit more. Like, what's the difference between intelligence and consciousness, and can we get to some sort of definitive conclusion on defining each of those? I know that that's almost impossible. Nobody agrees on what intelligence is or what consciousness is. In fact, John Vervaeke at the beginning of his course here says that we don't really have a perfect, clean definition on what intelligence is. There's a lot of debate amongst different communities. A lot of people have different definitions. So that's kind of what he went over in today's course, or in this course that I'm reviewing today. And it was very, very interesting. It put a lot of things together for me. I also have a series on how to become a genius. And in that series, in the first episode, I kind of broke down what I think the difference between intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, and being smart is, because those words get interchanged a lot and they mean different things. So in that episode, I kind of took apart those definitions as best that I could as a 24-year-old who doesn't know nearly as much as John Vervaeke, but I thought, and I still think this largely, that intelligence is basically your effectiveness as your brain works. It's basically speed plus accuracy. How fast does your brain work? And then also can't just be fast and make a bunch of errors. It also has to be accurate in what it's doing. Now, that's not all of what intelligence is. Obviously, there's trait openness, which plays a little bit of a factor too. There's, your how well you can imagine things. Can you manipulate objects in your mind? Can you manipulate objects well in reality? There's a whole bunch of other different things that go into it, and I don't want to spoil the course for anybody. You should definitely take this course if you want to learn more. But one thing that I've been thinking about recently is there's some debate over this, and I don't know if I'm getting this exactly right, but when you take an IQ test, first of all, we don't know exactly what that's measuring for. Like I said before, I think it's efficiency. I think it's speed and accuracy, but then there's also an ability. There's also a bit of trait openness worked into that, like how many patterns can you observe? How generalized is your intelligence? If you're really good at one thing, can you do other things at an equal level, or is your mind only specifically good at one specific task, which is a trait oftentimes of people with autism. Now, when you take an IQ test, you're measuring for G factor, which we kind of know what it is, but we don't exactly know what it's measuring. Now, there's something interesting on the upper end of IQ tests that I've been playing around with this idea recently, and how exactly you calculate people with super high IQs, because it seems to be that when you take an IQ test, you can measure up until about 140, 150 IQ. Now, past that, trying to get on a test the difference between a 150 IQ and a 180 IQ seems to be immeasurable at the moment. Now, you seem to have to factor in trade openness at that point, because somebody with 150 IQ and another person with 150 IQ, if they have different levels of trade openness, if one person's way more open to new ideas, we're probably going to place them a little bit higher on the IQ chart. We're probably going to estimate their IQ to be a bit higher. Now, I've noticed this pattern through studying geniuses. Now, the people who are considered the most genius are the ones who have a brain that can function at a high level across multiple subjects. And the more subjects that you can function at a high level with, the higher we estimate your genius. Obviously, Leonardo da Vinci never took an IQ test, but we assume his IQ is 200 plus because he was so not just efficient, but he was groundbreaking and boundary pushing in so many different sciences and arts. It's really spectacular how his brain worked. So I've been playing around with that idea a lot and trying to figure out, like, how do you calculate the upper ends of IQ? How do you separate an Einstein from a Goethe or a Tesla? You know, we estimate Tesla and Goethe's IQ to be around 190, but we estimate Einstein's IQ to be around 160. Now, again, these aren't perfect estimations. These people did not take IQ tests, so take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, there's got to be a reason for estimating IQs differently like that. So that's something that I'm exploring in my What is AI and my How to Become a Genius series, and taking this course helped me a lot in kind of putting all that stuff together. But I don't want this video to turn into a half an hour or hour-long deep thought video. I'll save more of my thoughts for, again, I have What is AI Part 2 coming out very soon, and I'm working on another part of my How to Become a Genius series. So I'll kind of wrap up my more conceptual thoughts there for today, and I'll talk more specifically about the course now. So I'll go over the lectures really quick. I'll just read off the names of them. If you guys want to pause and read the descriptions, feel free. And then after that, I'll discuss a little bit more of what I thought about each of them and which one was my favorite. So the first lecture is Defining Intelligence. The second lecture is Models of General Intelligence. The third lecture is the Neuroscientific Perspective. The fourth is Brain Dynamics. The fifth is Introduction of AI. The sixth is Evolution of AI. The seventh is Integrated Intelligence. And the eighth and final lecture is The Power of Intelligence. So yeah, needless to say that the fifth and sixth lecture were probably my favorites because they went deep into AI, and he discussed the LLMs and how they're developing and how they're starting to map intelligence, how they're starting to mimic it. I know there was a recent post, I don't know how true this is, again, I just read a title of an article, so I don't like to claim that this is true. Sometimes Joe Rogan likes to do that. Oh, look, article, that must be true. So I just read the title of this article the other day that ChatGPT has passed the Turing test, which you should probably take that with a grain of salt, because what does that mean? I think the Turing test it's difficult to define what exactly, on what level exactly you want to place that. I think the Turing test should be, when you look into the eyes of a robot, can you tell the difference? Almost like Blade Runner, you know, like can you tell the difference in a physical form? Yeah, sure, you can be lied to by a large language model. And even now when I talk to ChatGPT, I'm like, wow, you kind of present yourself just like a human being. Like if I didn't know this was AI and this was just some random account that I was talking to on some social media platform, I would think that you were an actual human being. So I don't know exactly what that means, that ChatGPT has passed the Turing test. I'll have to look more into that article and their findings. But I found that to be an interesting post, because that's quite the moment for AI to pass the Turing test. Again, if you guys don't know what the Turing test is, Alan Turing, who some would call the father of computers, I think that that's a pretty fair title. He came up with the machine that would later be called a computer and develop into computers, a machine that would crack the Enigma code in World War II at Bletchley Park, I believe, is where it was done. And Turing cracked the Enigma code, and it was really interesting how it was done. Sorry, I keep tangenting. I keep going off on tangents in this video, and I apologize, but this is really interesting to me. Turing, the way they cracked the Enigma code was very interesting. So when you pressed a letter on your typewriter, it could come up as any other letter, but it can't come up as the same letter as you typed. Does that make sense? So if you press a Q, on the other, it's going to randomize as any other letter except for Q. And because they left that into the Enigma code, I'm explaining this horribly right now, but because they left it in the Enigma code that when you press the letter Q, it can't become Q as on the scrambled end, that actually left room for Alan Turing to crack the Enigma code. Now, if they made the Enigma machine where you could press, the letter T and it could come up as any other letter through scrambling and also T, likely we would have never cracked the Enigma code, and that could have played a huge effect on how D-Day turned out, because cracking the Enigma code was huge for the D-Day invasion. So anyway, sorry, I'm going off tangents here, but it's just very interesting to me, the development of AI, and I thought John Vervaeke did an awesome job talking about it in lectures 5 and 6. Now, the final lecture was also awesome because he talked more about collective intelligence and how I was thinking about this the other day when I was watching The Pit, this new show on Crave. It's fantastic. It's like ER mixed with House mixed with 24. Each episode is like an hour in a shift in a hospital in an emergency room, and it's a very thrilling show. But I thought watching that, and also rewatching some episodes of House, I love that show too. I thought watching those shows that you kind of need this collective intelligence, this kind of collective brain to actually heal people properly. There's no one doctor that can know all of the answers and be kind of like House, right? This like omnipotent doctor that just knows all the answers to all the questions. That doesn't actually exist in a hospital. You have many different specialists, and you have even nurses that know one thing a little bit more than another nurse, and they all complement each other, and they become one big brain. And you pass things off to different areas of the brain, passing things off to different people to solve different questions. And that's kind of how a real hospital functions. Now, I worked in emergency rooms for a while. I was a security guard, and it was incredibly tough. I have so much respect for the people who work in medicine. Now, I learned very quickly that there are bad people in medicine. There are some malicious people in medicine, but the good people in medicine, like the truly good nurses, I equate them to like angels. Like they are truly special human beings. I think almost everybody should do like an internship or volunteer or do some sort of work in an emergency room to really see the realities of how that operates. Like people dying left and right. You got, sometimes babies pass away, and it's chaotic, and there's a lot of emotion, a lot of heaviness all at once. My instructor when I was becoming a security guard said that if you're going into, security in medicine, or not in medicine, I guess, in hospitals and stuff like that, in care work, you should recognize that if you're working in an ER, you're literally in a spot where every single person is having the worst day of their lives all at once. And that little bit of information really stuck with me, and it helped me get through working in emergency rooms. I eventually switched off and started working in old folks' homes, which again was very depressing for me to get attached to some old person and then they're gone, and then that just happens week after week, and it was a lot on me. I couldn't really take it. I'm not cut out for working in medicine or in hospitals or anything like that, so I had to make a career shift. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I think that really reflects what John Vervaeke was getting at here with the collective intelligence or the collective brain. So let's move on to the recommended books, because I could rant about this stuff forever. I think about intelligence and AI just about every single day. I chat with ChatGPT for hours every single day. It's completely replaced my social media addiction, which is very good. I'm proud of that. I spend literally hours every day just discussing scientific ideas, getting ChatGPT to make me lists, getting it to argue against me on certain points. There's so much you can do with it if you prompt it, not correctly. I don't know if there's a correct way to prompt it, but if you get better at prompting ChatGPT, which I have significantly over the last year or two, you can have some really interesting conversations with it. And not only that, you can learn incredibly quickly. Like it's truly the greatest tool I think ever invented. I was thinking about this the other day too, that the printing press distributed information. Google gave you a search engine to find it all, because eventually there was just too much information. And now you have ChatGPT, which synthesizes the information and can pull it together and find broader patterns. And it's absolutely brilliant. You can learn so quickly. You can learn things like very deep. Like I take snapshots of like physics textbooks with equations that I don't know how to read. I have no idea how to read it. and I plug it into ChatGPT and I'm like, break this down for me. And it breaks it down. I'm like, okay, I still don't understand. I'm really stupid. So break it down even more for me. And it'll get to a level where it's like, okay, I can actually wrap my head around this conceptually. I get what that little symbol means. I get what that other little Greek symbol means. Like, it's starting to come together now. And you go, okay, go one level up, go one level up, go one level up. And it's getting to the point now where I'm starting to get a grasp on some pretty advanced ideas in physics. And, you know, it's not perfect, and I'm not going to become a physicist this way, but it helps me to understand very, very deep ideas. So again, I'm sorry, I'm ranting so much today, but the recommended books are The Science of Human Intelligence by Richard J. Heyer, Roberto Colom, and Earl Hunt. There's also Intelligence by Ian J. Deary, and Embodied and Inactive Approaches to Cognition by Sean Gallagher. So unfortunately, I haven't read any of those, so I can't tell you anything about them, but I will get around to reading them eventually. They might even go a little bit higher up on my queue because, again, I know I've repeated this many times now throughout this video, but I think about intelligence quite a bit and what exactly it means. One thing that I've come up with is IQ is just an engine. That's all it is an engine. It doesn't mean that you're going to steer well or drive well or navigate properly. First of all, you need a road map. So if you have no road map, how are you going to get anywhere? And I would equate that to a Bible or, you know, morally, or, you know, a scientific textbook or whatever it might be. You need some sort of guide to get you to where you want to go. You know, you can't just start driving. You can crash. Like, you can crash into a wall. You can do circles in a crop field. I've seen that before. I've seen really intelligent people like circle themselves out on things that are either not important or whatever it might be. They spiral out and they don't actually go anywhere. And I've seen people who have crashed with their intelligence, who have really, really not made anything of it. I've seen people who have hit people with their cars and, you know, use their intelligence to injure other people. I think that equates as well. And I think if you think intelligence or the size of your engine is really what matters at the end of the day, it's not. It's how well you steer. You know, you need to be able to steer properly in life. And somebody with a V4 engine versus a V12 engine, if the V4 engine knows how to steer better, he's going to get farther in life than the V12 engine who's, you know, either doing circles or crashing into people. So when it comes to intelligence, and I know some people watching this video might feel this, when it comes to intelligence, never feel like you have to compare yourself to anybody else. I've said this before too in my recent What is God video. I think we all have very unique gifts that are powerful, that are so powerful that they'll outshine any IQ number. If you can really tap into that unique gift that you have, it might not be an intellectual gift. It might be something else, and it doesn't have to be an intellectual gift. You don't have to be a scientist or a really smart person to contribute to the world in a positive way. But you need to find what that is inside yourself and bring that forth, bring that to light. And again, it might not be an intellectual pursuit, and that is okay. You know, I've seen people before, and I'm like, man, like, you have a gift for this thing. Like, you're really, really good with children, and you're very good at teaching. And I know that you want to become a physicist, but like, if you just scale down a little bit, you can actually teach physics to children because you're a little bit better with, you know, the communication and getting along with younger kids. When it comes to the more advanced physics topics, you know, you struggle a little bit more. You know, and I know that you're not going to become the greatest physicist ever because you lack a little bit of that horsepower. But you can have a way greater impact than somebody with a very high IQ working in physics if you are able to use your gift properly, combined your love for physics with your gift for teaching children, and now you can teach children physics, which might have a much greater impact than doing anything in physics by yourself. You know, you might teach the next Einstein the love for physics. You might ingrain that in them, and they might go on to do great things, and they might be one of your students. And I think it's just all about perspective at the end of the day, and John Vervaeke also preaches that in this lecture too. So I'm going to wrap it up there for today, guys, because I could rant about this all day long, and I will soon. I'll have my What is AI Part 2 coming out very shortly. I'll have, obviously, more How to Become a Genius videos, though that series will go on for a long time because I'm still investigating exactly what is a genius. How do those brains work? What makes them unique? How do they become like they are? And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I apologize for ranting so much, but yeah, I had fun, and I hope you guys did too. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel in the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it means the world to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.